to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this man. God bless the Thank y'all for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Can we get a big round of applause for Noah Williams? Thank you so much, Noah. Great performance.
Yeah, I'm going to grab this out of the stand because yeah.
Bend over.
Yeah, I mean, I could do that too. I could do the lean. Well, good morning, everybody. My name's Adam Gobb. I am the Communications Director for Gaston County Government, as well as the Subcommittee Chairman for our local Gaston County 250 Committee. I also have the privilege of being the MC for today's dedication of these bedrock American documents. I want to thank all of our elected officials, distinguished guests, and members of the Foundation Forward organization. As you'll see from your program, we have several of our elected officials and members of Foundation Forward who are going to share just a little on what it means to them and our community to see this years-long effort come to completion. But to begin our program today, Reverend Justin Lowe from the First United Methodist Church here in Gastonia will lead us in an invocation, which will be followed by the presentation of colors by our Gaston County Police Department Honor Guard. If you're able, please rise for the invocation. Reverend Lowe.
Would you bow your heads with me and pray? Gracious and eternal God, we gather today in the heart of our city, in the heart of our county, beneath your open skies and before the witness of history, to dedicate this Charters of Freedom monument, a symbol of the liberties that we cherish and the vision that gave birth to this nation. As we honor the Declaration of Independence, the United States of America Constitution, and Bill of Rights, we remember that true freedom is not only written in documents, but lived in hearts, pursued in justice, and guarded by courage. We thank you for those who labored, dreamed, and sacrificed so that we might inherit such a legacy. Lord, may this monument stand not only as a reminder of our national foundations, but also as a call to be faithful stewards of liberty, to build community marked by equity and compassion, and to seek truth and reconciliation in our common life. Bless all of the communities of Gaston County, its leaders and citizens, and may this place we stand today be a space of reflection, unity, and renewal for generations to come. Come, Holy Spirit, bless this monument, bless this moment, and bless this mission. We dedicate it all to your glory and to the good of all people. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
trees and our If you would, please remain standing for the playing of the national anthem from Mr. Noah Williams, followed by students from Dream City Academy leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Now we'd like to bring up Ms. Roxanne Jimison and the students from Dream City Academy for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may be seated. I'd like to now introduce our next three speakers for the program, beginning with Gastonia Mayor Richard Franks, who will come up momentarily to formally welcome all of our dignitaries to today's events. I'd like to give a special thank you to the city. The city of Gastonia graciously worked with the county to secure placement of the Charters of Freedom at the site that you see here next to the Rotary Pavilion. Speaking after Mayor Franks, you'll hear from Challenge Foundation Group Vice President Michael Harrington, and then we'll hear from State Senator Ted Alexander. Senator Alexander is also the co-chair of the state's semi-quincentennial committee and is actively promoting events and work being done across the state in the lead up to next year's 250th anniversary of the founding of our nation. With that, we'll turn the microphone over to Mayor Richard Franks.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here, and this is an honor to be standing here today. It's truly a pleasure that we are unveiling these one day before our nation's birthday. It'll be our 249th birthday. So I challenge everyone that is here to be here next year for the 250th anniversary of our great nation. And I'd like to recognize the dignitaries that are here today to share this momentous experience with us. And if you would please stand, if you are an elected official or a dignitary, so I can recognize you. And at this time, I'd like Councilwoman Stepp and Councilman Kasupius to come up here too. Because this is a team effort. It's not all about me. And anybody who knows when I do public speeches, I don't stand up here by myself. So we'll start with Councilwoman Stepp, Councilman Dimitri Kasupius. I saw Senator Ted Alexander right here. I think they call them commissioners in Cramerton. Dixie Abernathy, Commissioner Jeff Ramsey, Chair of the County Commission, Chad Brown, Commissioner Vice Chair Kathy Cloninger, Commissioner Scott Sheehan, Register of Deeds, Jonathan Fletcher. I think Matt is here too. Oh, see, he's back there giving me the evil eye because I ain't said his name yet back there. But to our illustrious Sheriff Chad Hawkins. Yeah, I was. And the last two I'd like to actually stand is Kathy and Michael Harrington. And if you two could come up here, I'd greatly appreciate it. I am going off script, so that's okay.
Going way off script.
I am way off script. Everybody can be seated now. This has been an arduous journey, and ever since Michael made the call and we met in my office, it's been a mission. Sometimes it's been a little bumpy, but I wanted to thank these two because they brought this here. They raised the funds to make this happen. So I'd like to give them a round of applause. And thank you. And I think, Senator, you're next. Am I correct? Or Michael's next. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Michael Harrington, I represent Challenge Foundation Group, and you're probably asking who the heck is the Challenge Foundation Group. We're a nonprofit based in Forest City, North Carolina, so 45 minutes west down Franklin Boulevard, and you can find our offices on Main Street, beautiful downtown Forest City. About, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, we became associated with Foundation Forward, and we're very supportive of their mission. And last year, our nonprofit was able to make a financial contribution, a grant, to fund a setting here in North Carolina. We just didn't know where it was going to be. So we were fortunate that it's here in Gastonia, in Gaston County this year, and we owe a lot of the reason that it landed here to Mayor Franks. We reached out and started the journey with some of the folks in the county, and things moved kind of slowly. Little by little, we got a little bit of traction, and when we finally sat down with Mayor Franks, we found that this piece of city property was the ideal location, and things moved very, very quickly from that point on. So here in the last 6 months, we went from basically zero to a finished Charters of Freedom setting. So there's a lot of folks that worked really hard to make it happen. My friend Jeff Morse, where is Jeff? Way back there. Jeff lives in Valdez, where Foundation Forward is headquartered. And I don't know how many trips he made down here, but he made it his personal mission to see that everything went smoothly, that the setting was completed on time. And I owe a special thanks to Jeff for all his efforts. it didn't happen without a lot of other folks from the county and the city working together. There were a lot of folks who in the engineering and management departments and maintenance groups that chipped in while we financed this, and it's technically a gift to the citizens. It didn't come without a lot of input from local folks. So I really thank the City of Gastonia, all the folks that got behind us, and Gaston County for their efforts. We appreciate it greatly. I finished by saying, where I started, where the Challenge Foundation Group is very supportive of what Charters of Freedom and Foundation Forward is doing. The vision of the Pattersons to create this concept of installing Charters of Freedom all across North Carolina, across the world, really, across the United States, is really unbelievable. And their passion, their vision, and the amount of work and money that they put into this is just phenomenal. So hats off to all the guys, Vance and everybody at Foundation Forward. Thank you so much. We're very proud and honored to be part of this, and we hope that it sits here for many, many generations to come, and that a lot of people are inspired when they see these documents. Thank you all.
Senator Alexander.
All right, thank you very much for allowing me to be here today. What an exciting day to be, a hot day, but an exciting day to be an American. And I want to just say a couple of things on behalf of North Carolina's America's Semi-Quincentennial Committee, which I'm privileged to co-chair. I want to thank the Charters of Freedom and the Foundation Forward, and the City of Gastonia, and all of those who helped make this possible today. This is an exciting time for our area, for my district, for the country, and what y'all are doing is very important. And I wanted to say a few words real quickly. I'm going to talk about textiles, okay? Very quickly. Gaston County, Gastonia, your history is tied up in textiles. Not far away is the Lorray Mill, and there were many mills all over this part of the state. It was part of our history. And part of that aspect of textiles is something called, and some of y'all, anybody here worked in a textile mill, involved with textiles at one time or another? Now, y'all don't correct me if I get off a little bit, because this is a very simplified version. But in the field of textiles, you have something called the warp and the woof, or the weft, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And my understanding is that the warp are fixed fibers, or fixed fibers, I guess, for lack of a better word, that start here, and they're fixed, and they're held tight, or taut on the loom. And then the woof, or the weft, is threaded in to the side and pulled back and forth like this. But the fixed points are the warp. And I would suggest that in our country we have the warp and weft, or warp and woof, of freedom and liberty. And those fixed strands of the warp are those things just like our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, the biblical aspects of which our country was founded upon, the Ten Commandments, the family, marriage, law and order. Those kinds of things, patriotism, civic duty, those kind of things are the warp that are fixed, and they're held tight. And then individuals, and we are made up of many individuals of the weft, or the woof, and they go sideways, and they make up the various colors and the various patterns of our fabric. But it's these things that are so important, because they are the fixed points upon which our country rests. And that's why it's so important for these kinds of things to be done. And I have to applaud Senator Harrington and Representative Harrington for both of their efforts, and Jeff Morris and all those who worked so hard, because you are basically preserving the warp and the woof of our country. And it is that I think is so significant. And these kinds of celebrations that John Adams kind of said that we should have back in 1776 or thereabouts, these are what holds our country together. And you know that there are times when we feel like we're being torn, we're being challenged. But this holds our country together. What you're doing here is so important to the very fabric and the very continuation of our republic. And that is why I want to thank you on behalf of the North Carolina American Semi-Quincentennial Committee for doing these kinds of things. We're working closely. Representative Hugh Blackwell is the co-chairman in the legislature to do things across North Carolina. We'll be working, of course, with the Department of Natural Cultural Resources as they do things all over. But we're also doing things to complement those activities all over the state, and this is certainly a part of it. And as a part of that, the America Semi-Quincentennial, the state has been giving out some grants for important projects. And I'm going to go off script just slightly here, and I'm going to ask Jeff Ramsey and Dixie Abernathy to come up, because this is the result of the grants that we've been giving all across the state, and I think it's really appropriate here. One of the most complete ones, I guess, in the state has now been finished, and I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Ramsey real quick.
Thank you, Senator Alexander. So we're here today to present the first book, Promise of a Nation, to Ted and his committee. But also I wanted our author to speak for a few seconds before we do that.
We're just so honored to be included in this event to honor these iconic charters of freedom. Cramerton is just one little town in this county, but we are very proud to be part of Gaston County. And in looking forward to the 250th next summer, the Cramerton Historical Society commissioned the writing of a trilogy about the founding family of our town, textile leaders, the Stuart W. Kramer family. So we're very proud to present to you, Senator Alexander, today, Book 1 of the trilogy, Promise of a Nation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is really a great example of the kinds of things, along with this magnificent display of our constitutional and important documents that hold our country together. I want to challenge each and every one of you to be thinking from now until next year and beyond of the kinds of things that you can do to celebrate our country's 250th birthday. As you remember, some of y'all remember, I remember, in 1976 when we had the bicentennial, it really consumed in a good way our entire country. We came together, we were unified, and that's what this does. The Charters of Freedom unifies our country together, holds us tight. So you be looking for those things that you can do in your community, just like they've done in Cramerton and Gaston County. And I look forward to seeing the many great things that we're going to come up with on our semi-quincentennial. Say that 3 times. Semi-quincentennial. But thank you all for allowing me to be here today. What an honor it is, and God bless each and every one of you, and God bless the United States.
Thank you, Senator. He set me up for a bit of a shameless plug there. If you go up to the Gaston County website, you look for Gaston 250, you will see all the things that we're doing right now with our committee as we get ready to celebrate America's 250th birthday, literally a year and a day from today. With that, I'm going to hand the microphone off to Mike Unruh, who is the Director of Resources and Communications for Foundation Forward, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about the organization and then take us home on today's event.
Thank you, Adam. Good morning, Gaston County.
Good morning.
All right, good response. My name is Mike Unruh. I'm the Director of Communications and Resources with Foundation Forward and Charters of Freedom. And I'm here to tell you a little bit about the items that come along with your setting today. So let me get the microphone here. All right, can you hear me okay? Fantastic. All right. So along with your setting today, there are some other items that come along with it that you can participate in as a community, as individuals, business owners, and leaders of civic groups. I'm also going to introduce the members of our team, tell you about some things that we're going to do in the future along with the setting, and then I'll introduce our founder. So, first of all, I would like to point out behind me, actually I'm going to pull this out here. I'd like to point out behind me that we have a donor pedestal here. And along the front here, you'll see these blank pavers. This is our field of honor. Some of these are already engraved, maybe with some of your names, the names of contributors to the project. But for a tax-deductible donation of $100 or more, you can get your name, you can honor a loved one, a local veteran, or get your business name, your civic group, engraved on a brick or granite paver in the field of honor, or on a bronze plaque on the donor pedestal behind me. So we already have one group that is going to be recognized there, and that is the Challenge Foundation group with Philip Byers and Michael Harrington. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. So if anyone would like to get one of those order forms to do that today before you leave, please come over here to the table and see Connie Snyder, our office manager. Connie's raising her hand there, and we have those order forms for you. You'll notice the tall table in front of Connie here that has programs for the event as well as sign-in sheets, and you've been hearing me mention these all through the day. Before you leave, if you haven't already, please sign those sign-in sheets, because those sign-in sheets, along with the names of everyone who donates and contributes to this project, a video from today's event, pictures, press releases, as well as any of those who have spoken before me. If you would like to give a copy of your written speech to Connie, we're going to take all of those items, and we're going to also send out packets of information to community leaders, elected officials, and ask them to write a letter about what having the Charters of Freedom in your community means to you and those who you represent. So we get a different point of view from the Chamber of Commerce than we do from the Superintendent of Schools or from veterans groups. And we want all of those different points of view on the Charters of Freedom. And we'll ask you to send those back to us. And we're going to take those letters and all of the other items that I mentioned, and we're going to place them into a time capsule at a later date that gets sealed into a vault in the back of the Constitution. And all of those vaults in every setting that we build across the United States are going to be opened on September 17th, Constitution Day, 2087, which is the 300th anniversary of the Constitution. So that's only 62 years from now. I'd like you all to go ahead and take a moment to put that in your Google calendars. Okay? I plan to be here. I expect to see all of you here too. So. And then that time capsule will be, there's a letter inside that asking the people in 2087 to add more items to a second canister, seal everything back up, reopen them in 2187. There's a letter in there asking those people to do the same for 2287. So your attendance here today isn't just creating a legacy of your community now. It's also going to be part of a lasting legacy that celebrates your community and our nation on the 300th, the 400th, and the 500th anniversary of the Constitution. So that's all something that you are part of today, and please make sure to sign these sign-in sheets so we get you included, all right? Also, if you have any pictures that you would like to share with us, please come up to myself or any member of our team, get our business card, and we'd love to have any pictures or anything that you want to share with us after the event. If you want to make sure that you get one of those packets so that you can write a letter to be included in the time capsule, please come up and give us your contact information. We'll make sure one gets mailed out to you, okay? So business cards as well. If you want to give us your business card, we'll put those in the time capsule too. So in introducing the members of our team, I've already introduced Connie Snyder here. I would also like to introduce Jeff Morse, our grant consultant. He's under the tent here, and he worked with Philip and Michael and others to get this project here. Thank you, Jeff. Our operations manager, Perry Snyder, at the table here. He is also the head of our cannoneers. So in just a little while, please everyone stick around, because we're going to do a cannon volley after the event. And it's going to be loud, so make sure if you're over here, you plug your ears. The cannons are there. And if you're one of the honorary cannoneers, look for Perry when the time comes, okay? So we also have our education director, Dr. David Streeter, with us today. David, okay, he's here under the tent as well. So if there's anyone in the crowd and you would like to get more information on educational materials so that you could bring your students here for a field trip, please see Dr. David Streeter or reach out to us through our website. You can send us an email at chartersoffreedom.com, and you can request some of those materials as well. And you can also order one of the pavers or plaques through our website at chartersoffreedom.com. If you've been visiting the setting over the past few weeks, you've probably met our construction team. And we have today with us our construction manager and construction scheduler, Larry and Amanda Coffey. We also have members of our production team, David Knowlton, Holly Starnes, and Wade Mowers, all over here. So they do all of the engraving and everything for the documents that you're about to see, as well as the pavers and plaques. I'd also like to introduce Alexis Thurlow. She's in the green dress back here. You'll probably see her running around with a camera. And after the event, before everyone comes up to start viewing the setting, we would like to get a few group photos. So everyone who has spoken at the event, all of the participants, national anthem singer, Pledge of Allegiance, we'd like to get all of you to line up behind the setting with our founder, Mr. Vance Patterson, and we'll get a group photo, okay? So, and since I just mentioned Vance, it's his turn to speak. He is our keynote speaker today. And without further ado, founder of Foundation Forward and Charters of Freedom, Mr. Vance Patterson.
You are to be commended for making the effort for being here this morning. My question is, are you ready to be a part of history? Because we're going to dedicate your Charters of Freedom. They're going to be here for the next 300 to 500 years, and your future generations are going to know they were here. My name is Vance Patterson. I'm a father of 4, married 50 years to my wife, Mary Jo. That makes her a saint. We're from Burke County, just north of here. I started a company, manufacturing company, back in 1989 to make industrial fans. We actually make things out of metal, ship them across the country and around the world. A very proud American manufacturer. Now I'm going to tell you a little about the inspiration behind the foundation that made your Charters of Freedom possible. I'm going to tell you a little about the setting itself, and then I'm going to give you a challenge to take with you. About 14 years ago, Mary Jo and I were up in Washington, D.C., and we decided to go to the National Archives because we'd never seen the original documents, Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Well, we found ourselves wandering down these hallways, looking at different displays, and then it opened up into this large room. We walked through these big bronze gates into the rotunda, and there on the other side were the founding documents. They're in chronological order. The Declaration of Independence on the left, 4 pages of the Constitution in the middle, and the Bill of Rights on the right. This is when we learned that these are known as the Charters of Freedom. Well, one of the things I liked once we got in the rotunda was that there were no lines. We just wandered around looking at different exhibits, and when we got a chance, we stepped up and looked at the documents. And I will never forget the first time I saw the Declaration of Independence, something our founding fathers had actually penned, and then looked down and saw their signatures. Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Rutledge, Wilson, and the others. I just got goosebumps. And then when we moved over and saw the first page of the Constitution and those 3 words, "We the people," I actually got a lump in my throat. Mary Jo was wiping tears out of her eyes. It was really an emotional experience for us. Well, the following year, back in Burke County, I got to thinking about that experience, and the thought came to me, what if I could duplicate that experience and bring it back to the citizens of Burke County? Well, I told Mary Jo about the idea, and she liked it, so we started working on a project. And the scope of the project was to design and build a replica of the Charters of Freedom as displayed in the rotunda, put it in a central location in Burke County, had to have high visibility, high foot traffic, and easy access for school children and veterans. Well, it took us over 2 years to get this done, even though it was a gift from Mary Jo and I to the county. But after a late night joint session between the Burke County Commissioners and the Morganton City Council, they finally agreed on a suitable location and that they would accept the gift. Well, there was something we hadn't told anybody. You see, we'd only seen these documents once, and there are no prints, no dimensions, no measurements, nothing available to the public. So the next morning, we got up, got in the car, drove back up to Washington, walked into the rotunda, and now they won't let you take out a tape measure and start measuring a national treasure. But we had a plan. Mary Jo went one way, and I went another. And I stepped up in front of the Constitution, and I did this. And I was standing in the middle, so I figured it was about 12 feet long. Meanwhile, Mary Jo is actually walking up to the documents, turning around, facing the audience, and marking on her body the different elevations. And then we left before anybody asked us what we were doing. So I tell people, while your setting here may not be exactly what's up in Washington, keep in mind it's based on 2 paces of a short guy and 3 marks on my wife's body. We North Carolinians have our ways. Well, on July 2nd, 2014, we dedicated the first Charters of Freedom setting outside of Washington, D.C., in downtown Morganton, North Carolina, on the historic Burke County Courthouse Green. The project was so well received, and Mary Jo and I enjoyed it so much, we decided to do another one. And this one went in Murphy, North Carolina, Cherokee County, as far west as you can go. That was dedicated on September 17th, 2014, Constitution Day. The third one went downtown Asheville in Buncombe County. Now, during this time, we decided to set up a 501c3 foundation called Foundation Forward, because we knew we would be doing more. Foundation Forward has 3 principles. Number 1 is education. Education to preserve the history surrounding the time of our founding of the country, and education in civics, so all will know how government is meant to serve and protect we the people, federal, state, and local. Number 2 is access. You see, not everybody can get up to Washington to see the original documents. It took Mary Jo and I over 60 years the first time. So we wanted to provide access to these founding documents in a proper setting in the communities. And number 3 is community. Having your Charters of Freedom here in Gastonia, North Carolina, gives your citizens a place where they can gather to celebrate, to honor, and to reflect. To date, Mary Jo and I and Foundation Forward have gifted and dedicated 72 Foundation Charters of Freedom settings across the country. That's in North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Alabama, Virginia, as far south as Florida, as far north on the East Coast up in New York. We used to say as far west as Carson City, Nevada, but last year we dedicated one in Simi Valley, California at the Reagan presidential site. We go as far north as Wasilla, Alaska, and we also did President Carter's setting in Plains, Georgia. Yours is the 73rd and the 45th here in North Carolina, which makes it very special to us. Now, people ask us, why are we doing this? And we tell them, yes, it's very expensive, but it's more important than money. We believe it gives us a direct link to our founding fathers by helping to preserve what it is they gave this country, a government to serve and protect. From the beginning, this has been about education. We learned that we had 4 founding fathers who were very big on education: Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, and James Madison. They believed that in order to have a free and independent country, you must understand how government works, that you cannot control what you do not understand. Thomas Jefferson said in 1789, "Whenever a people are well informed, they can be trusted with their government." And James Madison, a 5'4" political rock star of his era, wrote in 1822, "A people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power knowledge gives." You wouldn't believe how many people come up to us when we're building these and say, "That's it? Just 4 pages to the Constitution?" And we say, "That's it. Those 4 pages contain the basis of all of our laws and our government." You wouldn't believe how many people don't know the first 10 amendments are our Bill of Rights. I guarantee there are people learning that today. You see, education. Now, you may have noticed, I'm not calling this a monument. The definition of a monument is a memorial to honor a person or an event. This is not a memorial. This is an active, hands-on educational supplement for your school's curriculum. Imagine, if you will, teachers bringing their 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade classes down here to your Charters of Freedom for annual field trips. And while they're here, they'll learn a little about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. They'll learn a little about the Founding Fathers, the history surrounding the era. They'll learn a little about state and local government and local heroes. This is already happening in communities across the country where they have their own Charters of Freedom. And the children love these annual field trips in this blue sky classroom, actually experiencing part of American history. There are 3,142 counties, boroughs, parishes, independent cities, and census zones in the United States. Our long-term goal is to place Charters of Freedom documents in all of those locations over the next 9 years. Our short-term goal is to do all 100 counties of North Carolina, so that people across the country are saying, "What is going on in North Carolina?" Our hope is that our future leaders will come from these communities and have their own Charters of Freedom, that their children will grow up no longer just talking about the Constitution and Bill of Rights in Washington. They'll be talking about their Constitution and their Bill of Rights, the ones they grew up with right here in Gaston County. Now, there's an extra display on the end, which is not part of the Charters of Freedom. What happened there was I'd be making speeches across the country asking people to accept this gift. And sometimes I'd get the question, well, what about the other amendments? And I knew what they were talking about, the 13th, 14th, and 15th. The 13th abolishes slavery, the 14th guarantees citizenship, and the 15th guarantees the right to vote. And I'd say, well, those are very important, but they're not part of the Charters of Freedom, so they're not part of the gift. And sometimes the discussion that followed would get in the way of them accepting the gift. Well, over the years, I got to thinking this is much more about education than just our experience. And it's very important that people know that these laws are in place. So I did some research, and I learned that there's never been a document about the civil rights, because there are 2 more that need to be included. The 19th Amendment, women's suffrage, which guarantees all women equal rights under the Constitution. And the 24th Amendment, which is a result of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which says you don't have to own property to vote, no poll tax. So I put together a document, rough document, using Article 5 to explain how the Constitution is to be amended. I contracted with a nationally known calligraphy artist, a guy named John Stevens out of Winston-Salem, to come up with a document similar to the Bill of Rights. He researched the writing styles, the materials used, and the format for such a document of the 18th century. Actually got materials used in the 18th century. And he put together a document. Took him over 5 months to do it, which, being an entrepreneur, I thought was a little bit long. But he came up with a true historic work of art. And that's what's on display at the end, your civil rights. Now, I told you I was going to leave you with a challenge. Our founding fathers were challenged by the greatest force on earth in their day, the British Empire. They protested. They rebelled. They fought a war and won a war, all the while setting up a government that is still in place almost 250 years later and replicated by more than 60% of the countries around the world. They met their challenge. Former county manager Kim Eagle was challenged with bringing a Charters of Freedom setting here to Gaston County. As of today, Kim met the challenge. Your challenge actually began about 9 years ago. Mary Jo and I have just finished dedicating a Charters of Freedom setting at Hanover College in southern Indiana. We were getting ready to leave, and I looked across the campus center, and there was Ron Wells, African-American facilities engineer, who had helped me a lot during the dedication. And I said, I need to go thank this guy again. So I walked over and I said, Ron, thanks again for all your help. And he said, well, thank you for making this contribution to our community. And I said what I usually say, you're welcome, and just make sure they use it after we leave. And he looked at me and he said, Mr. Patterson, I've already done that. I brought my son over last night, and we had the talk. And I said, Ron, that means more to me than anything anybody's ever said after a dedication. Way to go. So here's your challenge. You bring your child, your grandchild, niece, nephew, neighborhood child over to your Charters of Freedom. And you have the talk like Ron Wells did. And you tell them about their freedoms and rights and how those freedoms and rights give them an advantage over the rest of the world to pursue their passion, to chase their dreams, to accomplish their goals, and get out of life what they want to get out of life. You do that. And as far as Mary Jo and I and all of Foundation Forward are concerned, with this gift, we'll call it even. Thank you. And now, will Chairman Chad Brown please come forward? And if any of the county commissioners would like to come up also, that would be fine. The Charters of Freedom setting located at 107 North South Street, Gastonia, North Carolina, is hereby gifted by Foundation Forward of Burke County, North Carolina, to the children, veterans, and citizens of Gaston County, Gastonia, North Carolina. All rights, responsibilities, and care for this setting, which displays the Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Civil Rights Amendments, are accepted by Gaston County, July 3rd, 2025. Thank you so much.
First of all, I want to say thank you to the foundation. I want to say thank you, Mr. Patterson, the Harringtons. When this was brought to us several years ago, we were trying to find a place of setting where it would always be a gratified foundation. I say that because I want everybody to know what was happening the day before it was signed. As tomorrow we embark on what's going to happen with fireworks and what may happen, people playing, people having cookouts. What was it like for the forefathers? What was it like for them? They had a foundational commitment. The foundation was God. The principles was what they wrote. You think about the forethought of how they got there, how we live it today. It's still 249 years, and we're going to keep going for existence because of that document. Thank you so much for what you've brought to us. Thank you guys to the foundation. You guys are a great part of this. We're glad to be partners with City of Gastonia. But I want to say thank you to the citizens. This is the documents in which we live by. This is the documents in which we all should be able to go. I hope that everyone tomorrow during celebrations, you'll come by and you'll read it. You'll bring your kids by here for years to come to make sure that they understand what the foundation is. The foundation is the bedrock of what happens in America, and we're glad to be a part of it. So thank you so much, and it's a great day. Let's go fire some cannons.
All right, we've got just one more thing to do, which is a lot of fun, and that's a cannon salute. Will all the cannoneers please report to Command Sergeant Major Perry Snyder, U.S. Army retired, over here. And I need my drummer up here, our drummer of the day, Noah Williams, a man of all talents.
For this part of the ceremony, we'd like to ask all veterans, active duty military, and first responders to stand up and be recognized.
All right, I knew during the first dedication I wanted to do a cannon salute, but I didn't know how many times to fire the cannon. I knew 21 wasn't right, so I did some research. And I learned that the cannon salute started back in the 17th century. Noah Williams, May 17th century. Ships pulling into port would turn their guns to sea and discharge 3 rounds to show the port they didn't mean any harm. Well, the port, having more cannon and more powder, would answer 7 in kind. 3 times 7 is 21, maybe that's where that came from. Well, anyway, I knew the 21 wasn't right, but I'd done business up in Dundee and Edinburgh, Scotland. And the Scottish told me the story about how back in the older days, they liked the way the British marked noon. They would fire 12 rounds so all the ship's captains and the shop owners could set their clocks. Well, the Scottish, being Scottish, and that is my heritage, reasoned, why fire 12 rounds at noon when they could wait 1 hour and save 11 rounds? So every day there's a howitzer in the old fort in Edinburgh that goes off at 1 o'clock. So I knew my number was somewhere between 1 and 21. And I decided on 7, partly because of history, but also there are 7 articles of the United States Constitution. We will fire 1 round for each article of the Constitution. Are my cannoneers ready? Drum roll, please. Article 1 defines the legislative branch, composed of the House of Representatives and the Senate. It describes their powers and responsibilities. Article 2 defines the executive branch, the qualifications for president and vice president, their powers, responsibilities, and means of removal from office. Article 3 sets up the judicial branch, the Supreme Court and the lower court system. It protects the right of trial by jury and defines treason. Article 4 gives the states the right to make and carry out their own laws related to the people and problems of their state, so long as those laws do not conflict with the United States Constitution. Article 5 outlines the process of amending the United States Constitution. Article 6 sets the status of the United States Constitution as the supreme law of the land, to which all leaders, including the legislative, executive, and judicial, must be loyal. Article 7 addresses ratification and declares that the United States Constitution should take effect if 9 of 13 states ratify. Children, veterans, and all citizens of Gaston County, I give you your charters of freedom.
Thank you very much. This has been a great ceremony today. As Mike had mentioned, I think we want to get everybody that's been involved in the program today up to get some photos right behind here. We want to thank everybody for coming out, and then I'll let Mike say the last word.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. And can we please get all of the speakers today all the performers behind the Constitution with Mr. Vance Patterson. After that, we're going to get all of the elected officials. After that, we're going to get all veterans and active duty military. And then we would like to get all first responders. Law enforcement, fire, EMS. Speakers and performers. Speakers and performers. All right. We have Vance in here. Okay. Everyone smile. Okay, if you're an elected official, please stay there. Vance, please stay there. Any other elected officials in the crowd, if you would like to join them?
Article 1 defines the legislative branch, composed of the House of Representatives and the Senate. It describes their powers and responsibilities. Article 2 defines the executive branch, the qualifications for president and vice president, their powers, responsibilities, and means of removal from office. Article 3 sets up the judicial branch, the Supreme Court and the lower court system. It protects the right of trial by jury and defines treason. Article 4 gives the states the right to make and carry out their own laws related to the people and problems of their state, so long as those laws do not conflict with the United States Constitution. Article 5 outlines the process of amending the United States Constitution. Article 6 sets the status of the United States Constitution as the supreme law of the land, to which all leaders, including the legislature, executive, and judicial, must be loyal. Article 7 addresses ratification and declares that the United States Constitution should take effect with 9 of 13 states ratified. Children, veterans, and all citizens of Gaston County, I give you your charters of